The remains of the day.
Neglecting emotions causes one to miss out on transcendent opportunities. Gosh, whoever made these stairs did a terrible job. Stephen's devotion to Mr. Faraday robs Stevens of closure with his father on his deathbed. The devotion Stevens displays is both admirable and destructive. Stevens is always at the beck and call of Mr. Faraday and waits to his every need. When Stevens' father fell ill one night during an important meeting with several government officials, Mr. Faraday understood the severity of the situation and excused Stevens from his duties. Stephen refuses and serves throughout the night while being interrupted with updates on his father by Fanny. Later, Fanny reports that Mr. Stevens has died of a stroke. Stevens responds, "I see," and then continues serving the rest of the night. Stevens is unable to step away from his professional role and loses his last precious moments with his father. He leaves his father to die alone. The most heartbreaking part is that Stevens remembers this night with a large sense of triumph. Stevens' obsessive faithfulness to his job ruins his chances at maintaining and repairing relationships.
Stevens' flashbacks reveals his greatest regrets. Stevens retells many events from his past. All have two things in common: his duties as a butler and Fanny. Stevens and Fanny have always had an eye for each other. However, neither was able to break past their formal work relationship. After many years, they reunite in Little Compton. Stevens cannot own up to the fact that he is fond of Fanny. For this reason, he tries to lure her back into Darlington Hall for business purposes. Stevens retells his past with Fanny. These moments he looks upon with great joy, but it is his greatest regret he was never able to make something out of their relationship. Not even Mr. Stevens' death rivals his remorse over Fanny. Stevens is a stoic character. He rarely ever breaks his professional manner. After Fanny's and Stevens' reunion, Stevens breaks out of his normal character. He says, "There was surely nothing to indicate at the time that such evidently small incidents would render whole dreams forever irredeemable." Stevens is heartbroken over his past. He relives his mistakes every day. The loss of Fanny's friendship destroys Stevens' hope for a better future. One way that the novel takes the reader on a journey is through the setting. Remains of the Day is set in the 1920s through the 1950s in southwest England. It takes place in both Darlington Hall and on Stevens' road trip to Little Compton, Cornwall. Ishiguro brings in the audience by having the main character Stevens narrate. This novel is written in the first person with only the exception of Miss Kenton's letter. The tone of this novel is mainly nostalgic, serious, and mature. Along with nostalgia, regret continuously comes up in the novel. The diction uses formal and proper, which represents Stevens' character. One final and major element that comes up in the novel is characterization. An example of this is the description of Stevens. He is a butler who wants to be the best butler he can possibly be. His job is important to him, and he will complete any task for his job because it is the one thing that he cannot give up. Through characterization, the reader can learn more about the people involved in the story. Stevens is also an example of a static character. The reader goes through this story with Stevens and hopes he reaches an epiphany at the end, to change his life and to use what time he has left. However, Stevens' only conclusion he draws is to practice his banter more to please Mr. Faraday. Stevens' unchanging goals frustrate the reader and cause them to look at their own life and to not fall into Stevens' path.
It is essential for everyone to make time for themselves and to step away from the responsibilities placed on them, even if it's for a short amount of time, because if one goes through life only serving others, they'll not find their own personal happiness.
Never be afraid to share your feelings with someone else. The opportunity might not be there in the future, and that will lead us to regret. Always be open with someone because the outcome could be life-changing.